Today we're going to do a textured side bun. I've already waved all of my hair with an Enzo wand and then also ran a dry wax and an invisible serum through it so that it deconstructed my waves and gave me this cool rough texture. This is our foundation, and then we're going to go in and pick a side to put the bun on. So I am going to go with my right side. A lot of times people are like, okay, do I do it on the side of my part, or since all the hairs tend to go this way, should it be on that side? And there's no really right or wrong, you just get a different look. So I'm gonna go on the side opposite of where all the hair is going toward. The way to make it look natural and messy and undone is to do the hair in sections. It's harder to put all the hair back in one band and then create that look. I'm gonna separate out first the top and sides. So this is one section, that's a section, and then I'm actually going to clip up my crown and do that separately as well. So the ones on the sides I'm just going to leave down, and this on the top I'm going to clip that up out of the way, and that's going to be the last section that I incorporate. The rest of this is going to go in a low, loose side ponytail right here. I'm just using a soft, big elastic. That's all going to be covered, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. And you don't even really need a brush for this. Nothing needs to be perfect. So I have my pony here. And then if you have longer hair, like mine, sometimes it's hard to wind all of that up. So that I have a little more control, I'm going to do a really loose braid. I'm just braiding it a few times, but that gives me almost like a rope to work with. And then I'm going to take a brush and then just barely wrap those ends to seal it so I don't have to put another ponytail down. And then I'm going to wind this up like a bun, leaving it really messy and loose. And then I'm using extra large bobby pins. They're like as long as your index finger. And then pinning, you go in with the hair and then go a little more down with the bobby pin. If you pin up like this, the pin will slide back out, but if you go in and then pin down, it holds it in there. And when you're pinning, you want to make sure that you still keep your bun kind of low like this, don't end up here. And having that braid really helped, because otherwise this would be a big mound and then I'd be trying to twist it and keep it all there, but the braid is actually holding it in for me. And I only have to use a few pins. Okay, so that's going to be our foundation and base. And then I'm going to go in and pick how much I want out of the sides to be left down. So I'm going to take out some of my layers. It's always better to leave out more, and you can go back in and use small pins and pin in those pieces. I'm going to take that hair and bring it over to the side and just kind of incorporate it into the bun like that. You still leave out some of those top layers. And then depending, you know, you could go underneath. If you wanted it to really look lower, that'll help it keep it lower. I actually like that. Or if you needed it to be up a little bit higher, I would take the section over the top of the bun. But I like the look of it being a little lower. Pin in that one. And then I use little pins that are half the size for these extra hairs. Pin those down as well. And it's a good idea to have a mirror and check as you're going along and making sure that it's looking good in the back. And then here's my crown section. I used some dry wax and went in there and roughed up the texture here. You don't want it too big, but you don't want the back of your head to look flat either. Something that's really important to consider, especially at this point in the updo, is the shape of your head. So you don't want it to look like a cone or an egg or a box. You want like a nice round shape, even though this is low. So I'm going to give just enough texture to the roots and pull it out here so that the crown has some roundness to it and it's not super flat, which is what can easily happen on a low updo like this. And then with this last section, I'm going to use small pins and just create little twists. So I'm securing the base first with the first pin and putting that just right on my bun, and then using another little pin. And if you have like a tail of hair here and you're not sure what to do with it, you just need to give it a little bit of extra texture. So I use my fingers like that and tease it and make it kind of messy, and then take another pin and pin that hair down. And here's another section. Take a little mini pin, pin the base, give some texture to the ends, like that, and then pin the ends into the bun as well. So I'm just going to go in with the mirror, and I'm actually liking the shape. So I have a nice, you know, kind of bump where my crown is, and then it just naturally, those waves get incorporated into the low bun. And then looking at it, to me, this is still a little bit heavy. I'm just going to take piece by piece and twist these back. If they're too smooth, I'll give it texture with my fingers like this, and then take a little pin and pin that into the bun, like that. And I like some of this straighter, you know, piecey stuff coming out, as long as it's not like sticking out too much that it takes away from the overall shape. Also, a lot of times I'll tuck a little bit of the hair behind my ear if I need to make it look like it's being held back naturally. You can do something like that versus looking so pinned. Now, most of the styles with updos are very like undone and natural looking. You don't want it like so sculpted. And then you just want to play around with everything else at the end and shape it around your face. So at this point, I don't even need any more pins. The rest I'm just going to shape with my hands. So I go in, roughen it up a little bit, make it look natural, like up against my head, like that. And then I'm going to use some hairspray. I pull up the crown a little bit and bring out more of the texture in those waves. And then you also want to consider the size at this point. If it's too small, it's going to make you look like a pinhead. If your body's like bigger, so much bigger in comparison with your hair being up. And then if it's too big, you'll look really top heavy. So you just want to make sure that you balance it out with the size of your shoulders and your body. And then the other key is that everything is very asymmetrical. And then just keep roughing up that texture on your scalp and shaping it to your head so that it looks like it really fits. So you want it to look like the hair is like growing right off your scalp. You kind of twisted it, put it back, and that's how you have it looking natural, versus it looks like you just took a hairpiece off a mannequin and stuck it on your head. That's when it isn't really flowing with your body and your own head shape. And since I have the braid, I can go in too and pull some of it out. If I'm like, oh, I want this a little bit longer, or a little more fullness at the bottom, like that. I really like that texture kind of falling out of the bun. And then I'm gonna do a final check from each view to make sure that looks good. So from this side, looking in the mirror, I want it to be nice and tight at my nape to make my head look round and not flat on the back. So I still have that element there. And then making sure from the back that I have a nice asymmetrical flow. So it's like higher and tighter here, and then it comes down and is loose and undone here. So that looks good. And none of the pins are too visible. And then from this side, I love seeing the different bumps and waves going on. So it's not like so smooth and perfect. So that's really cool. I like that part too. And the amount that I've left down. And that's just personal preference. You know, you just play around with it until it feels comfortable, feels like you, and that you can kind of own it with how much you've left down around your face. I like a lot of it down like this, and like having that very undone, effortless look. You just play with it and see what feels good. Okay, so that's the messy textured side bun, and I hope you enjoy it.